money to buy U.S. treasuries. Arab states launch a new dollar. Euros become the currency of the drug cartels. That tells you the dollar is really sucking wind. And we're just in a world of hurt. Well, joining us right now is our guest, Bob Chapman, and I appreciate him so very much. He has put out a recent newsletter that is just incredible. I hope you all take advantage of getting a complimentary copy of it and then signing up for the International Forecaster newsletter. Bob Chapman, editor of that newsletter, thank you for joining us in the Power Hour today.
Well, thank you for having me again, and I look forward to it.
Well, thank you. Is there any good news you can bring to us about the dollar? I mean, everybody seems to be getting away from it like it's the plague or the Heine flu.
Well, I just spent 3 hours writing about it, and there's going to be a lot of twists and turns in here that people don't expect. The dollar inherently, as a reflection of the fiscal and monetary policy in America, is bankrupt. It's insolvent. And so isn't the British currency and all of their finances as well. And then, of course, about 2 weeks ago, we had the Dubai affair, and two British banks, the Bank of Scotland and HSBC, were caught offside for about $50 billion. And the former, the Royal Bank of Scotland, is now publicly owned. What they did was they took all the debts and dumped them on the residents of the United Kingdom. But this is leading us to some new phase of currency disruption and its reflection on gold and silver. That was followed by Greece saying that they can't pay their debt. And it looks like in time, perhaps within 6 months, Greece might, break away from the euro. And Spain is in horrible trouble, as is Ireland. Ireland has started a very, very strict revival program, if you may. They may make it, but Spain's probably going to default, along with Portugal, and maybe even Italy might. And so you have a unit in Europe called the euro that could very well be out of business in the next couple of years. And this past week, the euro dropped from 151 down to 145 something to the dollar. And the economy in Europe, on a qualitative basis, is probably a little bit better off than the U.S. is, but that doesn't mean they're in good shape. And so that's why the dollar has rallied recently. And, of course, it had a great deal of help from our government, which manipulates all the markets. There are no free markets left. And so shortly, the run in the dollar upward would probably exhaust itself, and the euro will probably move back up again. But it doesn't alter the fact that many of these major nations are just plain bankrupt. And I think as a solution to that, some people have seen the writing on the wall, so to speak, and they've been buying gold and silver, and they're not buying it because they think there's inflation around the corner. They're buying it because they've lost the trust and the confidence in the central bankers. And this is just the beginning. I think that probably within the next 18 months, and perhaps as short as a year, there will be devaluations in major currencies, and the dollar included. And there's no sense in being in denial that America is in serious trouble. I've had other newsletter writers point out that this could never happen, or that the FDIC would shut down in a year to a year and a half. And they're wrong. I'm the guy that was right 98% of the time. Doesn't mean I can't be wrong. But the point is, the chances for a devaluation of the dollar and many other currencies is very real, and that's why people are going to gold and silver.
Well, that brings up a question. Jim Otika, who is a valued Power Hour listener and provides us a lot of good information, has sent me some good stuff and regarding what's happening on with the dollar. But he asked this question. He says, please ask this of Bob. I've had so many people ask this question. A discussion he says he has among his friends is what factor will gold and silver jump? In other words, what is the factor that gold and silver will jump once the dollar is revalued? He says he says, my guess is that we'll get the reciprocal of the new monetary changeover. And he wants to know if you know anything about that or any insight as to what gold and silver would do under a new currency.
Well, first of all, let's just deal with the fact that since 1980, official inflation would put gold at $2,400 an ounce. Unofficial inflation would have it between $6,700 and $7,150 per ounce.
Oh, no.
The latter figure, pardon me?
I can't believe that. $6,700.
Yeah, this is what they call denial, Joyce.
Whoa. I mean, that's
the point
incredible.
is this, that the latter figure is from John Williams. The $6,700 figure is from me. So let's just go on that basis. Now, if deflation begins, there'll be a greater, or takes over, I should say, there'll be an even greater move toward gold and silver because they're monetary metals, and it's the only way that people can preserve their wealth. Now, the people who don't have wealth should be doing all the things that you're talking about, herbs, vitamins, minerals, and all of those things in the filters for water and being able to defend your family. Those are most important. They go first. But for those people who have money, they should, be putting it in that area, gold and silver-related assets, because all the currencies are going to go down against gold.
Okay, but how will they revalue it? If they say, okay, bring in $10, for every $10 we'll give you $7 back. How will they do that with gold? What will that do to the price of gold the day that happens? Let's say that event took place. A hypothetical situation.
Well, first of all, I have projected, and I've done work on this, research and backing into it. And I would say they will issue one new dollar for three old ones, and it will be a dollar. It'll be just different. And that's a two-thirds haircut, so to speak, or devaluation. And I think that's what will happen. But to answer your question, it'll all be discounted before it happens. Because everybody who knows what's going on, which is less than 3% of the population in America at least, and the professionals, they will have already driven gold probably to somewhere between $6,700 and $12,000 an ounce. That's going to be the upshot of the whole thing. And that'll already have happened. And so those of you who wait for something to happen after the fact have waited too long. You've got to be in there now with the vision that gold's going higher because the value of the dollar and our other currencies are going to go lower. And then we have the added, perhaps even temporary, inclusion of large inflation. It won't last long, maybe a year and a half or two, and then the whole thing will just collapse. And so
it's going to have to implode. It has to implode. There is no way to continue doing what they are doing.
That's right, and that's why you have to anticipate. Look, we get out of the market in the second week of April of 2000. In June, I started buying gold and silver shares, and people have done very well. I've also recommended the gold and silver coins, and they've done very well there. And they will continue to do very well in the same place. And there's going to be a lot of frustration. The government's going to intercede in the market until we can get rid of the Fed and stop the working group and financial markets from manipulating the markets. How long is it going to take? Year and a half? Once they devalue the dollar, everything's going to break loose. It's just like with what we saw over the weekend in Copenhagen. The bad guys lost. But they are not going to give up, because if they do give up, they're going to lose everything, and they know it. So the battle is ongoing, but you have to have the foresight to protect yourself.